Part 31. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 301. Along with the words, there was a terrifying sword light. At this point, all four quasi-immortals have fallen. One sword and one quasi-immortal. Xiao Xian's understanding of the way of swordsmanship is truly terrifying. It also proved to the world his terrifying fighting ability. Then Xiao Xian headed towards the last quasi-immortal. Master Xiao, as long as you let me go today, I am willing to protect your Xiao family's safety for the rest of your life. If you have any doubts, I am willing to sign a life and death contract with you. In the face of life and death, he didn't care about dignity. Things like ants want to sign a life and death contract with the head of this family. They really overestimate their own capabilities. The long sword flashed, the sword light reached the sky, and the sky shook. Master Xiao? If you don't want to, I won't force you. I just ask that you give me a way to survive. I am even willing to provide the Xiao family with a large amount of resources for the Xiao family members to practice. Xiao Xian looked at the person in front of him indifferently, and then waved the sword in his hand. The quasi-immortal was immediately frightened and knelt on the ground, begging in fear. Master Xiao, I am the Supreme Elder of Tianqian section. It is really offensive to come here this time. I also hope that Xiao family Master Haihan, as long as I return to Tianqian sect this time, not to mention abundant resources. It is not impossible to use the strength of the entire sect to become the patron saint of the Xiao family. When everyone around heard this, they couldn't help but gasp. Tianqian sect is a long-established force in all the worlds, and their core strength is in the All-Heaven continent. There are two quasi-immortals sitting in charge, and they are the influence of countless sects. Even the great Yan dynasty was extremely afraid of them, and even gave them to the Tianqian sect, in addition to the elders who came to the dynasty. It is precisely because of this that both the disciples and the elders of Tianqian sect are extremely powerful and domineering. But today, their elder showed weakness in front of Xiao Xian, and even took out his sect's power to beg him for his life. Sure enough, in the face of absolute strength, dignity is nothing. A white dress appeared and disappeared, and a sword light passed instantly. The next moment, the pupils of the Supreme Elder of Tianqian sect suddenly dilated, and a bloody mouth opened from his throat. Forming a gorgeous red flower, it instantly swallowed up his life. When he was dying, Xiao Xian's cold voice slowly came. The Xiao family does not need anyone's protection. From the moment you start murdering the Xiao family, you are destined to perish. I, Xiao Xian, have absolutely great strength and can protect the Xiao family. Become the strongest family. Hiss. Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but gasp and looked up at the sky with horrified faces. Not only did Xiao Xian not accept the protection of Tianqian sect, he even said such strong words. He even killed him instantly with one sword, leaving no room for negotiation. When the powerful men with the title of Great Emperor who were about to surrender to Xiao Xian saw this, they all looked at him with bared teeth and scarlet eyes. Since we are all going to die anyway, why don't we join forces to fight him? One of the titled emperors shouted loudly, and his aura suddenly exploded. The next second, the head of the titled emperor flew into the sky. It shocked countless people. The other people's eyes turned red when they saw this, and they all headed towards Xiao Xian. A great battle began, but it only lasted as long as a stick of incense. Nearly 20 titled emperors died in Xiao Xian's hands. Countless people looked at the scene in the sky and were so shocked that they could not speak for a long time. In their eyes, the terrifying existence that could shake the stars was crushed to death by Xiao Xian like an ant. Seeing the figure that looked as graceful as a banished immortal, everyone couldn't help but admire him. After this battle, even the quasi-immortals of Zushan continent. Thinking of taking action against the Xiao family requires careful consideration. and the final fruits of victory in this battle naturally fell on the heads of the Xiao family. A war involving tens of millions of people came to an end with the fall of 6 quasi-immortals. Excluding those who died in the war and those who were unwilling to surrender, the Xiao family captured nearly 8 million troops. In the remaining time, the Xiao family's army did not stop, but headed directly towards Yandu, the core of the great Yan dynasty. The beloved concubines even had an affair regardless of ethics and morals. Even my mother wants to kill Gu. Otherwise, the eye of heaven will be attracted and forced to enter the stage of breakthrough and transcendence. This battle spread throughout the world in a very short period of time. Although the Yandu dynasty at this moment is a magnificent scene, it makes people feel as cold as life and death. But they were all killed the moment they were about to enter the Zushan continent. Xiao Xian and others looked at him quietly without saying a word. Xiao Xian is the first example. As the sword fell, the figure stopped crawling, its wide eyes showing deep fear. Xiao Yi and Xiao couldn't help but feel frightened. This scene also greatly shocked the powerful people in all the worlds. Even if they were to kill people in person, they would not be able to fight back. When Xiao Xian arrived, everyone was already waiting at the entrance of the hall. Under the messy hair, there was a face stained red with blood and full of fear. Who would have thought that Xiao Xian's fighting power would be so terrifying? By the time Xiao Xian entered Yandu, the Xiao family's army had already controlled the entire Yandu dynasty. Yanlong dragged his heavy body and slowly sat on the dragon chair, and spoke bitterly. Behind him were piles of corpses dressed in various colors, broken branches and corpses everywhere, and a scene dripping with blood. Obviously, everyone knows that this is a sign that the ancestral dragon bloodline of the great Yan dynasty has completely passed away. The smell of blood and wine mixed together made even Xiao Tianyuan feel sick to his stomach. The strong men in Zushan continent could only watch helplessly as their clansmen were being killed but could do nothing. Xiao Xian's name has been remembered by the people since then. He is also the last emperor of the great Yan dynasty, Yan Long. A maniacal laugh came from inside, and a man wearing a dragon robe slowly appeared among the corpses with a long sword in his hand. Only then would all the forces around the great Yan dynasty choose to submit to the Xiao family. This is all due to Xiao Qingyun's thunderous methods, and also because of her existence. She is really a good mother, wife, and son to the lonely king, ha 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 ha. Any quasi-immortal who has accumulated more than 10,000 years of magic power is not allowed to stay in the heavens and worlds. The yellow curtains in the main hall were hung in tatters on one side, and there was a figure in red struggling to climb underneath. The branch forces of the 3 major forces in all heavens and realms retreated from here in the shortest possible time. He killed not only the princes and grandsons, but also the concubines in the harem and the current queen mother, and this person was the current emperor. Originally, the princes, grandsons and beauties of the harem lived here. There is a wine spring on both sides of the path entering the main hall, with broken limbs floating in the wine spring. At this moment, the unpleasant smell of blood hit his face, and what came into view were dazzling blood stains. The great Yan dynasty is currently suffering from internal and external troubles, but my good sons are thinking of usurping the throne. Xiao Qingyun on the side told Xiao Xian the origin of this person with an indifferent expression. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 302. Xiao Qingyun, the lonely king has underestimated you. The lonely king should have thought of it a long time ago. How can a person who can promote the dynasty in his hands into a dynasty be an ordinary person? It is really unexpected that you bring everyone here today. Xiao Qingyun said nothing and looked at him quietly. Xiao Jianfeng on the side took a step forward. The deadline has come, it's time to abdicate. Yan Long sneered, and then looked at them crazily. Abdication? Why did the lonely king abdicate? You traveled thousands of miles to bring tens of millions of troops to the lonely king, and you even dedicated the king of a dynasty to the lonely king with your own hands. It's too late for the lonely king to thank you, so how can he abdicate right now? Xiao Yuqing frowned slightly. Even now, you are still stubborn. Yanlong snorted coldly, the matter is not over yet, the true dragon seal has not been released, and the true dragon soul has not dispersed. Do you, the Xiao family, really think you are the final winner? Xiao Qingyun looked at him indifferently. Is this what you are talking about? With her palm facing up, a true dragon seal of golden light slowly appeared. A golden nine-clawed golden dragon hovers over the real dragon seal, with its head held high and roaring toward the sky. Even so, everyone present felt the strong power of the dragon. Yanlong looked at Xiao Qingyun in astonishment and saw a looming golden dragon hovering around her body. You can actually find the true dragon seal. Yanlong looked at her in disbelief, and then whispered, that's good, it saves the lonely king the effort to find him. The corner of Xiao Yuqing's mouth twitched and she couldn't help but was about to step forward, but was stopped by Xiao Xian. He slowly looked at the dragon chair behind him. Since you have already appeared, why hide? Yanlong's face was extremely pale, his eyes were venomous, and the moment he looked at Xiao Xian, he was even more filled with murderous intent. From beginning to end, he never looked at himself, as if he didn't even look at him. This kind of disregard made him feel full of ridicule and ridicule. As a king of a country, how could he resist such an insult? However, in Xiao Xian's eyes, he was just a coward who only had the position of king but no power. Even for the sake of the false name of the leader of a country, he killed each other with his own son, and even that old mother, wife, and children. This kind of behavior is nothing more than covering up the unwillingness and distortion in his heart. Such a person is not worthy of being in his eyes. Yanlong was so angry that his aura kept rioting, and he couldn't help but want to step forward and kill Xiao Xian. At this moment, an old and steady voice came from behind, Infinite Heavenly Lord, Your Majesty, you still need to pay attention to the dragon body. Along with the sound of this voice, the three old men appeared beside Yanlong at some unknown time. Everyone's expression suddenly changed, and it was obvious that the identities of these three people were unusual. Immortal, Xiao Qingyun couldn't help but speak, his tone full of shock. As soon as these words came out, everyone in the Xiao family fell into silence, and they looked at the three people with a hint of fear. The only ones who can be called immortals are those who are transcendent. The transcendent one is the most powerful existence in the world today. Even the quasi-immortal is nothing but a defeated enemy in front of him. Immortals are below the quasi-immortals, below the true transcendent beings. There is only half a step left to be promoted to a transcendent person, and then you will coexist with heaven and earth. It was under such temptation that the Emperor of Heaven was lured away from the mountain by the Human Slaughter Alliance, thereby disintegrating the heavenly court era. After entering the transcendent realm, the realm of cultivation will be divided into immortals, true immortals, earth immortals, heavenly immortals, spiritual immortals, mysterious immortals, golden immortals, Delugo golden immortals, and saints. Each realm is divided into 3 stages, early stage, middle stage, and late stage. Immortals are those who have achieved a little success in cultivating the Tao. They can enjoy a long life and be free from all diseases. They no longer belong to the mortal body, but they are not true immortals either. A true immortal must cultivate to the level of an earthly immortal. Although he may not enter the immortal world, he can shine with the sun and the moon and live as long as the sky. In addition, it protects the people of a party and absorbs the inner strength of the protected believers to practice, making its strength even more powerful. And as the area he protected expanded and became stronger, his cultivation speed also increased. But those are all legendary strong men, and the 3 immortals in front of them are the first living ones they have seen. What kind of powerful character do you think you are, Immortal Tianzun? You actually want to be the son-in-law of our Xiao family. One of them had curved eyebrows and a kind-hearted look, which made Xiao Qingyun feel disgusted. Even a mere evil person dares to do anything in front of her. I really don't know the heights of the world. This is under the guise of dual cultivation, to use Xiao Qingyun as his cauldron for cultivation. When everyone heard this, they were stunned at first, and then became furious. When the Virgin returns to the Quanzhen sect and practices dual cultivation with the immortal Tianzun, her cultivation will no longer be restricted. This person is really weird, and his face is even more similar to that person. I thought this cult had been wiped out, but I never thought there were still remnants alive. It's just a daydream. To put it nicely, it's just that I want to use Xiao Qingyun as my own training cauldron. When the three immortals' eyes fell on Xiao Xian, they frowned slightly. Sure enough, it is evil and twisted. The Quanzhen sect is just a cult left over from ancient times. I dare say it is Taoism. As the reincarnated empress and the king of the dynasty, Xiao Qingyun would become a training furnace for others. The Quanzhen sect uses the excuse of cultivating Taoism to coax young girls to practice dual cultivation with them, and actually uses them as a furnace for their own cultivation. But he can see through the cultivation realm of the three of us. We are really reincarnated virgins. In this way, the three of us have completed our mission. Not only will you be able to excel on the road of cultivation, but your luck will also be greatly improved. This wishful thinking was heard even in all the heavens and worlds. It's no wonder that Yanlong can still be so confident in this situation. For the needs of cultivation, no woman who is targeted will survive. But when the three of them looked at Xiao Qingyun, a look of surprise mixed with a little obscenity quickly passed away. Immortal Tianzun had a feeling some time ago and deduced that a virgin has been born. He specially asked the three of us to take her back to the Quanzhen sect and practice together with her. Taoism has had enough of you scum. When Xiao Qingyun heard this, his face was as cold as frost. The leader of the Tian Taoist group smiled slightly. This time we are following the orders of the immortal Tianzun. Bah! Don't insult the reputation of Taoism. Xiao Xian looked at him indifferently. Tell me your purpose. He is just a great emperor, so what if his qualifications are incredible? Even in front of the immortal, it is impossible to escape the clutches of the devil. Immeasurable Heavenly Lord, immortal attaches great importance to you. Although your cultivation level is only that of the great emperor. I think the good person is Xiao Xian, the head of the Xiao family. Poor Taoist Tianyi, Tianyuan, and Tianyu are polite. She wants to get rid of not only the three people in front of her, but also the Quanzhen sect behind them. He came to help Emperor Yanlong stabilize the great Yan kingdom, and secondly, he came for the virgins. This person's eyebrows were indifferent, neither sad nor happy, and there was no trace of cultivation aura flowing from his body. Even one of these three immortals is enough to turn the entire situation around. However, the old Taoist turned his gaze to Xiao Xian and turned a blind eye to Xiao Qingyun's murderous intention. Double cultivation. What a double cultivation! At this moment, a hint of murderous intent was already flowing in her eyes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 303. Yanlong's words made everyone furious, and there were shouts and protests outside the city wall. There was originally a trace of true dragon luck slowly condensing on the sky, but it dissipated instantly. Xiao Xian knew in his heart that even if these three veterans tried their best to help, the great Yan dynasty would be doomed. The three old Taoists were overjoyed when they heard this. They came to the Yan dynasty this time to spread the Quanzhen sect culture. Their foundation was severely damaged by the heavy losses in ancient times, and the emergence of the heavenly era. The Quanzhen sect had to pull out the great Yan dynasty and finally settled on the outskirts of the monster mountain range. This invitation from the emperor of the great Yan dynasty is a great opportunity for them. Not only do they want to settle in the great Yan dynasty, they even want to penetrate the entire heaven. Recreate the past glory of Quanzhen religion. Yanlong's words just now naturally touched them. Tianyuan waved the dust in his hand, with a righteous look on his face. Since the monarch values us so much, how can we let you down? Then he took a step forward and exploded with momentum, locking Xiaoxian in the terrifying immortal realm. The good man has gone crazy and will do whatever it takes to seize the throne. Today, I will kill you on my behalf. The other two old Taoists nodded, and then looked at Xiaoxian righteously. Xiaoxian chuckled, in that case, let's see who is better in terms of your skills or the master of this family. After speaking, he pointed towards the sky, and a sharp sword light swept across the sky and cut through the sky. The terrifying sword light made everyone fearful. When Tianyuan and the other three saw this, their expressions changed drastically, and they all used their own special skills. One finger Zen. Tianyuan hurriedly used magic to resist. With the power of this year, even he, an immortal, did not dare to be careless. A terrifying qigong burst out instantly, and boundless power swept across the sky. The two terrible collisions caused the entire galaxy to tremble violently. All the creatures in the sky looked at the scene in front of them and couldn't help but widen their eyes in shock. After the violent collision, Tianyuan's body continued to retreat, and several blood stains appeared on his body. After he stabilized his body, a sweet smell came out of his throat. The expressions of Tianyi and Tiantian behind them changed drastically when they saw this, and the look of fear on their faces became even stronger. I originally thought that Xiaoxian was just a titled emperor with some abilities, but I never thought that his strength could be so powerful. It seems that they still underestimated the strength of this killing god. Xiaoxian stood on the sky with a long sword in hand, his white clothes fluttering, and his appearance was outstanding. The speed of ordinary people's cultivation becomes slower the further they go, and it becomes more and more difficult to achieve breakthroughs in combat effectiveness. Xiaoxian originally had a special physique, and he even obtained the hybrid shaman physique and all kinds of essence and blood forging in the ancient secret realm. Now, even if he fights with only his physical body, he can still defeat a cultivator in the realm of the great emperor. Coupled with this hidden cultivation realm, his cultivation speed is not limited by the shackles of heaven. Therefore, it became easier to break through. Although he is now a fourth-level quasi-immortal, he has accumulated 200,000 years of mana. Even if the true immortal is here, with the blessing of Hezifabao, he can still deal with it in his hands. What's more, there are only 3 immortals in front of you. Killing them is like crushing an ant. Senior brother, this person has gone completely crazy. We need to kill him as soon as possible. Don't harm everyone in the world. Tian shouted, and a qigong burst out from his hand instantly. 7-style Arhat. Tianyuan had fought with it before, so he naturally knew how powerful it was, so he used his full strength without hesitation. Thousands of pounds of force. Crane steps to the sky. 3 terrifying Taoist techniques were activated at the same time, causing thunder to roll in the sky. Facing such an attack, Xiaoxian looked calm and spoke slowly. The technique is good, but it's just a bit lacking in heat. Swallow the sky and the earth, break. Boom. A force of chaos instantly rushed into the sky, and the boundless aura of Tao swept across the sky. The immeasurable power of terror continues to wreak havoc all over the world, and a dragon in a state of chaos looks up to the sky and roars. Seeing this, a thought of death flashed through Tianyi's heart, and then he shouted, "The 3 of us saved him first that day." Whoosh! The chivalrous hearts of those swordsmen exploded vividly at this moment. The 3 of them looked at each other and saw shock in each other's eyes. The expressions of the 3 old Taoists changed drastically. They looked at the scene in disbelief, with deep fear showing in the depths of their pupils. Xiaoxian was holding a long sword, his white clothes were fluttering, his black hair was flying, and he looked at them with a smile on his lips. It's time for me, the master of the family, to take action. Create a new world. At this moment, the faces of Tianyuan and others were filled with fear and panic, and their pale faces were covered with fear. Seeing this scene, everyone looked in disbelief. At this moment, their fear of Xiaoxian developed to another higher level. A feeling of blood boiling filled all the limbs. And Xiaoxian stepped on the crescent moon sword, with his white clothes fluttering and his black hair trembling, as if he was an immortal in this world. Xiao Shanren once threatened that we would protect the Xiao family forever. It's our Meng Lang who's here this time. Like. At this moment, they had to admit how powerful Xiaoxian was. Even if the ancient power tried his best to control his emotions, his heart was still roaring. With the waning moon sword in hand, one sword penetrates the galaxy and creates the ancient path of the galaxy. Infinite Heavenly Lord, Master Xiao, the three of us met Xiao Shanren that day, and he asked us to bring it to you if he had something to say. At this moment, they could no longer look as aloof as before. His ragged clothes, disheveled hair, and dilapidated appearance shocked countless people. The three old Taoists nodded without thinking, but saw Xiao Xian let out a light chirp, and then exploded with his own power. Before he could finish speaking, Xiao Xian smiled coldly. I wonder if the Xiao Shanren you are talking about is Xiao Zhangtian. After a while, the three of them collapsed and knelt on the ground, unable to fight anymore. Create the world. Create the world. Seeing this scene, the three of them discovered that the man actually had a 3/3 similarity in appearance with Xiao Xian. After the sword light dissipated, the three figures were instantly knocked away, and blood mist flew across the sky. With Yandu as the center, it spread outwards, and the swords in the hands of all the swordsmen roared. An ultimate sword light was like a dragon entering the sea, and it penetrated into the bodies of the three old Taoists. The next moment, thunder was rolling in the sky, strong winds were blowing, wind and clouds were surging, and the stars were broken. Everyone took a closer look and saw that the three old Taoists were pale and had several blood marks on their bodies. The boundless sword energy stretches thousands of miles, sweeping the world with invincible power. The next moment, a golden light flashed, and the three people's killing moves were instantly defeated. Hearing this, a cold light flashed in Xiao Xian's eyes. At the top of the world, terrifying thunder rolled and roared, as terrifying as a monstrous river flowing backwards. The sword light circulates, the galaxy breaks, the Milky Way falls, and the shadow of death hangs over it. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on the white figure on the sky. As the sword roared, all the swordsmen couldn't help shouting. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 304. A quasi-immortal aura hit his face, and boundless oppressive power fell from the sky. He is actually a quasi-immortal. The last strange phenomenon in the Xiao family was actually caused by Xiao Xian being too powerful. It's no wonder those quasi-immortals died in Xiao Xian's hands. It turns out that he is already a quasi-immortal. And he is also a quasi-immortal with 20 years of magical power. It's unbelievable. Xiao Xian's sudden change shocked the three of them. They never expected that the other party turned out to be a quasi-immortal. With 200,000 years of magic power, except for the immortal Tianzun, there is no opponent in the entire universe. You keep saying that I am unscrupulous and crazy. If I don't do something unscrupulous, I'm afraid I'm sorry for your words, but I can never tolerate sand in my eyes. A look of panic suddenly appeared on the faces of the three people, and their hearts were like thousands of horses galloping. Xiao Xian, we were the ones who offended you today, but the three of us didn't hurt your life, right? Those words were just a verbal offense. Why are you, the head of a dignified family, so fussy with us? Tian looked sullen and even made some accusations. Tian Yuan then echoed, the three brothers, just want to apologize to you for what happened today. If you care too much, you should weigh it. Behind us is the Quanzhen sect. Not to mention you, no one in the entire heavens and continents dares to provoke him, let alone just in all heavens and worlds. He was very confident in saying this, even though the Quanzhen sect was driven out of the heavenly continent by the Emperor of Heaven. But with continuous breakthroughs in the monster forest over the years, it has already become a giant. Even if they killed someone's family genius in the continent of the heavens, the other party would still have to break their teeth and swallow it. But Xiao Xian sneered again and again after hearing these words, and even his body trembled. Then the sword was raised, the sword light circulated, blood flew into the sky, and the broken arm was scattered. A sword fell, blood fell, black and white eyes were supplemented, and the skin of the human face was the main one, and a short and long fight began in the sky. Ah! A wail spread throughout the sky, veins bulged, blood flowed backwards, and expressions of agony appeared on the bloody faces of the three people. However, this was not over yet. The leg muscles of the three people were severed, and the broken bones were hanging down. The screams of people whose throats were torn echoed in the sky for a long time. When everyone in the heavens saw this scene, they couldn't help but feel frightened in their hearts and their eyes showed fear. Who would have thought that Xiao Xian could be so cruel, and his methods were even more chilling. But what's more in their hearts is joy, which is the pleasure of revenge. At this moment, the three Taoists could no longer conceal themselves and shouted at Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian, you are so cruel. Xiao Xian, you must die happily. I curse you to lose everything you gain and everyone you love to leave you. You are destined to be a loner. Boom. As soon as this statement came out, countless images emerged in Xiao Xian's mind. There is Hutu, hope is comfortable, and there is also the curse of that person before his death. This scene alone made Xiao Xian completely crazy. He reached out and grabbed it, and three bloody tongues came out. The dull wail echoed in the sky. At this moment, Xiao Xian was like a cold murderous puppet. You are not following the mission of slaying demons and protecting the Tao. Wherever there are demons, you will be there. What, where is the immortal? What about redemption? Why are you watching this demon torture and kill you? The pain of losing their tongues and the pain of their flesh and blood made the three of them unable to reply any longer. Seeing this, Xiao Xian slashed the air with his sword, and the sword energy fell into the air, and the terrifying sword power swept across the sky. I wonder if you have calculated your fate before coming here. After saying that, the waning moon sword swept forward and headed towards the heads of the three people. Seeing this scene, the three people stopped struggling and closed their eyes to accept the coming death. At this moment, an old yet charming voice came from the sky. Immeasurable heavenly Lord, good people have become evil. If we don't get rid of the evil nature, we may bring disaster to the people. With the sound of this voice, an old man with white hair and a childlike face, wearing a purple robe, appeared in front of everyone. At a glance, this person gives off an aloof feeling of immortality. But upon closer inspection, I found that this old Taoist had a charming look on his face. The most shocking thing is that there is another face on his head. The dense black spots on that face made people shudder at the first glance. Such a scene shocked countless people. He turned out to be a mid-stage immortal. Oh my God! How can this person have two faces? He's so weird. His strength has actually reached the middle stage of immortality. How did he do it? It is rumored that there is an immortal in the Quanzhen sect who practices dual cultivation with others, but he became possessed by evil spirits and became neither human nor monster. I think this person is the immortal. Although Master Xiao is extremely powerful, he will be difficult to defeat against such a strong man. Throughout the ages, no immortal has ever been killed by a quasi-immortal. The appearance of this mid-stage immortal caused countless people to talk about it. At this moment, the eyes they looked at the immortal were not only full of fear, but also fear. With dual cultivation as the art of cultivation, how many lives must have been stained with the blood of his hands? However, Xiao Xian smiled extremely flatly, and behind this smile, he revealed a strong sense of confidence. Even if he faced a mid-level immortal, he didn't think he would lose. The appearance of this person made the last trace of uneasiness in his heart disappear. Seeing this person's appearance, the three old Taoists behaved exceptionally. Even if he has become a human stick, he will not hesitate to crawl towards Xiao Xian. It seems that the person who came to rescue them is an abyss troll. However, without their eyes, they were heading towards the immortal. My good junior brother, senior brother will avenge you now. But before that, you need to complete the last breakthrough for senior brother. After entering the middle stage of immortal, my cultivation speed becomes more and more difficult. Then, in full view of everyone, he actually devoured his three brothers. Even the demon clan members showed fear when they saw such a scene. Infinite Heavenly Lord, poor Taoist Heavenly Lord and Immortal are rude. The sanctimonious appearance of Tianzun Immortal made everyone feel disgusted. The three junior brothers look like this, even if Deluo Jinxian comes, they can't save them. Instead of letting them die in vain, why not help me break through and avenge them? Then he looked at Xiao Xian, who was standing in white, and the boundless Tao aura was surging. You went crazy first, seized the dragon vein second, and then killed my three junior brothers. Nothing can make Pandeo forgive you. If you are allowed to continue to exist in this world, it will be Pandeo's fault. Xiao Xian held the crescent moon sword in his hand and looked at him indifferently. Oh? Obsessed. Why not ask the world who he is? Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 305. Immortal Tianzun's eyes showed resentment, and the look he looked at Xiao Xian was full of murderous intent. Good man, it's not easy for you to be possessed by demons. But there is a poor Taoist here who can help you reach bliss as soon as possible. Infinite Heavenly Lord. Then he stopped talking and took a step towards the sky. A terrifying immortal power burst out instantly, and the boundless momentum swept across the sky. The next moment, countless young girls appeared above his head, graceful and charming, with attractive smiles. I saw those girls smiling like bells as they came towards Xiao Xian, a scene of infinite beauty. While making countless people in the world envious, they also feel terrified in their hearts. Such a beautiful woman, Master Xiao, aren't you tempted? The voice of the heavenly immortal keeps reverberating in the sky, and the girl's voice makes countless people yearn for it. I saw a smile on his lips, and a trace of extremely confident expression. With this method, I don't know how many people became his training nourishment. What's more, this Xiao Xian in front of him, who has never tasted the joy of fish and water, how can he resist? However, when countless young girls surrounded Xiao Xian, the smile on his lips stopped. I saw a faint smile hanging on the corner of Xiao Xian's mouth, looking at him with a half smile. His eyes were clear, showing no signs of being deceived. At this moment, Tianzun Immortal's pupils trembled, showing a look of horror. However, the other party is just a quasi-immortal, and even with the blessing of 200,000 years of mana, it is not enough to make him afraid. Infinite Heavenly Lord, it seems that you are not possessed by a demon. You are not a demon, but you are so cruel. It seems that I must kill you. His sanctimonious appearance made everyone look at him with disdain. Xiao Xian said nothing and waved the waning moon sword in his hand. A powerful sword energy swept across the sky instantly, making the sky tremble. The boundless aura condensed instantly and turned into countless golden sword lights. The sword lights condensed into a golden cage, imprisoning the immortal Tianzun. This blow shocked everyone. Can such an attack really defeat him? Sure enough, with the break of immortal Tianzun, this golden cage was reduced to ashes. When everyone saw this, they couldn't help but look solemn. If Xiao Xian lost, they would really be in dire straits. Immortal level magic weapons are indeed good, but it's a pity that with a sword and an expert, you are just a dying person. Immortal Tianzun looked at the sword in Xiao Xian's hand, with a hint of greed in his eyes. Even if he is a true immortal, he may not be able to possess immortal level treasures, let alone him who relies on women to rise to power. Xiao Xian looked at immortal Tianzun indifferently, not angry at all because of his words. He was seen waving the waning moon sword in his hand, and then spent millions of redemption points to redeem a limit pill in the system. Extreme pill, it can help users break through a great realm in a short period of time. With the blessing of the head of the family, Jade Pendant, Xiao Xian's strength couldn't help but riot. The 5th level of Quasi-Immortal, the 6th level of Quasi-Immortal, and the 7th level of Quasi-Immortal. Immortal. Xiao Xian's realm strength directly broke through to the middle stage of Immortal. The terrifying speed of improvement shocked countless people. Although these were all temporary, Xiao Xian's combat power also skyrocketed crazily. Not only that, he also realized the realm of immortals that only exists at this stage. The terrifying immortal aura continued to burst out from Xiao Xian's body, making the Tianzun immortal look in disbelief. But what followed was endless killing intent, and the word kill that came to mind. If he is allowed to continue to grow, not even himself, not even a few people in the heavens and continents will be able to find him. But what's more, it's the greed that wants to take the magic weapon on Xiao Xian's body as his own. Good stuff. Really good stuff. It seems that the rumors in the heavens are true. The head of the Xiao family has treasures that can improve his realm through different practices. When I saw it today, it turned out to be true, but it's a pity that you are already half-stepped into the underworld, so leaving this treasure behind is useless. A terrifying momentum surged across the mountains and rivers, spanning eternity, and a huge palm appeared in the air. With these treasures, why does he have to practice double cultivation with others every day to improve, and why should he suffer the pain of backlash? As soon as the sword fell, the body of the Tianzun immortal flew out, if it weren't for his cultivation of using women's souls as his main combat power. The body of Tianzun immortal was directly trapped in it. His face was pale and his body was trembling as he used spells towards the sky. Immortal Tianzun shouted loudly, forming seals in his hands continuously, and countless formations rushed into the sky to resist. The addition of immortal level skills and martial arts makes his sword power even more terrifying. Although Xiao Xian's fighting power is powerful, compared with his own, it is still far behind. Xiao Xian's cold voice sounded, and then a sword light fell from the sky. Shrinking the ground into an inch, this was the first immortal method he understood. At this moment, an extreme sword light swept across, and countless sword energy rushed into the sky. Facing the immortal Tianzun, the terrifying murderous aura boiled uncontrollably. With one strike of the sword, Tianzun Immortal's killing move was completely destroyed. Tianzun Immortal screamed at the top of his lungs, his veins bulged and his pupils dilated. With a loud shout, an invisible heavy pressure instantly formed and headed towards Xiao Xian. However, no matter how many spells he used, he could not shake the sword energy at all. Even his body was constantly retreating, and his expression was filled with deep fear. Broken. Broken. Broken by Master Tao. Xiao Xian looked indifferent and slowly came towards him. Nothing is impossible. Since you started practicing. Therefore, he didn't take the other party seriously at all, and his mind was filled with treasures. Shining for 9 days, the terrifying sword energy suppresses ancient and modern times. He jumped up and stood directly opposite Tianzun Immortal. In an instant, Tianzun Immortal felt a breath of death coming towards his face. Immortal Tianzun looked horrified and spoke in great surprise. Thinking of this, a look of fanaticism flashed in his eyes. The next moment, the boundless realm of swordsmanship appeared in front of everyone's eyes, and the boundless terrifying aura instantly enveloped them. You have done many evil things and are unforgivable. Today, I will act on behalf of heaven and send you to hell, where you will suffer the pain of purgatory forever. 1,000-pound drop. Xiao Xian fully demonstrated his domineering power at this moment. Even if I only have time to burn a stick of incense, it is enough for you to drink a pot. Who do you think you are? I am already a transcendent person. In this world, no one can hurt me. No one. However, in the invincible sword energy of Xiao Xian's move, it was like a mantis using its arms as a chariot. At this moment, he could no longer remain as calm as before. After neutralizing the main attack power, he was already a cold corpse at this moment. On the pretext of dual cultivation, he killed countless young girls, and then imprisoned their souls, making it impossible to reincarnate. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. How could you have the terrifying fighting power of an immortal in such a short period of time? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 306. How could Xiao Xian, a mere mid-stage immortal, withstand the full fire power? Sword energy spread all over the sky, sweeping all around, making everyone fearful. The endless smoke dissipated, only to see the ragged immortal Tianzun, lying on the ground in a miserable state. There was only air coming out but no air coming in, and there was no color at all on his face. With his eyes widened and pupils blurred, he couldn't understand how he could lose to a quasi-immortal. He didn't even have the ability to fight back. All the beings in the world looked at the scene in astonishment. They were able to defeat the transcendent with the power of a quasi-immortal. Xiao Xian is still the first person. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help themselves for a long time. Xiao Xian once again showed the world his super fighting power with absolute strength and terrifying strength. Master Xiao, actually won. Great. We are saved. We no longer have to live the miserable life we had before, we are finally rescued. That's right. You don't have to worry about your wife and children being missed by them and then sent to be used as cauldrons. We all know the Xiao family's ruling methods. If not, how could anyone be willing to die for them? Our lives will become better in the future. Then everyone looked at Xiao Xian's figure in the sky with longing expressions. At this moment, Xiao Xian was slowly walking towards Tianzun Immortal, with the waning moon sword in his hand shaking continuously. The boundless sword body continuously exudes terrifying sword energy. Immortal Tianzun raised his head with difficulty and looked at Xiao Xian with a horrified expression. His eyes showed deep fear. What are you going to do? I am an immortal from the Quanzhen sect. If you dare to kill me, the abbot of the Quanzhen sect will not let you go. He will be pursued to the end, even to the ends of the earth. Who is Xiao Xian? How could he care about the other party's little threat? He raised his sword and lowered it, and a sword light flashed away, directly piercing the body of Tianzun Immortal. After the sword light circulated, there was no trace of life left in Tianzun Immortal. In an instant, a fish-belly white halo rushed into the sky. Astonishingly, they were the many wronged souls imprisoned by the immortal Tianzun, and one of them even emitted a faint golden light. Xiao Xian waved his hand, and a road leading to the gate of reincarnation appeared in front of everyone. Seeing this, a group of innocent souls took the road to death without hesitation. I saw little stars gathering on the sky, and finally the coefficients disappeared into Xiao Xian's body. Even Xiao Xian was a little surprised that he actually gained merit. Then turned and left. Seeing this scene, everyone in the world couldn't help but be stunned. Who would have thought that Xiao Xian, who was so decisive in killing, would save so many wronged souls? This is a great merit. For those who cultivate immortality, it is an opportunity that can only be encountered. With Xiao Xian's current strength, transcendence is bound to succeed. After transcendence, what is needed is not only the uncle and fighting power, but also the people's heart and merit. With the support of the people and becoming an immortal, you can be promoted to an earthly immortal and become the patron saint of a party. The more merit points you have, the stronger your strength and combat effectiveness will be. But it is really difficult to obtain such special abilities. Therefore, many cultivators choose to directly improve their combat effectiveness. The Xiao family master is really powerful. It's hard to imagine how much energy he must have spent on transcending so many wronged souls. Changing dynasties, the Great Yan dynasty changed its surname to Xiao. For a time, countless people were talking about it. Above the sky, Xiao Xian, dressed in white, looked at the changes in his body with a calm expression. Although he briefly broke through to the immortal realm, he understood more than just a little bit of immortal magic. At this moment, he was even more detached. The moment Tianzun Immortal's vitality dispersed, Yanlong knew that his situation was over. Therefore, he chose to hang himself without even leaving his body behind. Xiao Qingyun then took charge of the overall situation and brought the entire situation under control. The surrounding forces that were eyeing him eagerly were also included in the Xiao family's territory. One force after another was uprooted, and those who followed the rule prospered while those who resisted perished. The remnants of several major forces in the past, plus some strong men brought by Zushan continent this time. No matter how hard you die, if you take captives and are willing to obey, the Xiao family will naturally not treat them badly. Seeing this scene, many neutral forces also chose to join the Xiao family. But the final price is a lot of resources. The change of dynasty relies on iron-blooded tactics rather than benevolence, justice, and fraternity. This battle made Xiao Xian's reputation as the god of killing completely resound throughout the world. Even in Zushan continent, he is a household name. During this period of time, Xiao Xian has led the Xiao family to the right track. And on an auspicious day, the Great Yan dynasty was officially included in the territory of the Nanming dynasty. The king is Xiao Qingyun, and his country is called the Nanming dynasty. The Nanming dynasty was not only Xiao Qingyun's step towards becoming a strong man, but also proof of the strength of the Xiao family. Everyone in the Xiao family was not surprised that Xiao Qingyun was in charge of the Great Yan dynasty. The fact that she can promote a dynasty to a dynasty is enough to prove that Xiao Qingyun is the most suitable candidate. Xiao Qingyun was satisfied with this result. After all, she was promoted to the Nanming dynasty and wanted to become the Buddhist daughter of the Yan dynasty at any cost. It was not for the purpose of handing over the position of king to Xiao Xian, but for her future cultivation path. Moreover, with Xiao Xian's terrifying combat power and mysterious identity, he would not covet her resources. Therefore, Xiao Qingyun is also very lucky and fortunate to be born in the Xiao family and be a descendant of Xiao Xian. As the territory of the Nanming dynasty expanded, Xiao Qingyun's luck also continued to increase. When she ascended the throne and became the king, endless luck continued to bless her. The realm that was originally the peak of the great emperor completely broke through at this moment, impacting the fifth level of the titled Great Emperor, directly surpassing Xiao Tianyuan, Xiao Jiangxin, and others. This scene did not cause any surprise to everyone in the Xiao family. Xiao Qingyun already had the qualifications to break through to the title of Great Emperor, but he chose to delay. It was for today's move, and as expected, the accumulation of strength, coupled with the luck bonus brought by ascending to the throne. Xiao Qingyun's strength increased by leaps and bounds, especially his combat effectiveness, which was developed to the extreme during this battle. Coupled with the blessing of a country's destiny, her fighting power can now be said to be unmatched by anyone under Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian was filled with emotion when he saw this. The methods of the reincarnated empress were indeed not comparable to those of the Xiao family's children. Even if they open such a big gap, they can still find opportunities to reverse the situation. and it was beyond the reach of everyone in the Xiao family. Even he had to admire this kind of courage and means. Xiao Qingyun's beautiful eyes slowly opened, and a boundless power swept across her instantly. Everyone only felt that the pressure of the emperor shrouded them under the dragon's claws. The eyes he looked at her also contained a hint of awe. When Xiao Qingyun looked at Xiao Xian's calm eyes, a warmth flashed in his heart. The head of the family has been silently helping him since he knew her identity. Then she looked at Xiao Tianyuan, Xiao Jiangxin, and others who had happy faces and were really happy for her. There are all kinds of true feelings in her heart. This is an atmosphere she has never felt in several lifetimes. Especially Xiao Xian, she had never come into contact with a leader as mysterious and powerful as him. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 307. Ever since Xiao Xian helped her advance to the Nanming dynasty, she had already had a rough guess about Xiao Xian's identity. When she first came into contact with Emperor Haoshan, she vaguely guessed about Xiao Xian's identity. She had already had doubts until Hung Jun's luck from the last demonic battle blessed her. He was able to turn Pangu's shadow into his own combat weapon, and even negotiated with many great powers from the beginning. Even Patriarch Hung Jun, who is half a heavenly deist, still has to call him a fellow deist. Before the disintegration of the Heavenly Kingdom era, there were some records from the pre-epical world. However, due to the start of the massacre in heaven, those ancient book records disappeared from the world. So it took a lot of time to find a trace of records about that time. She remembered that the ancient book said, "Under the great road is Pangu, who created the world. Then there is the way of heaven, and the way of heaven gives rise to saints. Below the saints, all are ants." Before Pangu came out, the world was in chaos. In the chaos, there was a spirit, which was formless, colorless, and without form. Xiao Qingyun murmured to himself, recalling the records in the ancient book in his mind. Xiao Xiannen used Pangu as his fighting character, and became Taoist friends with Patriarch Hung Jun. Then his identity is above that of Pangu and ancestor Hung Jun, but above Pangu is the world of chaos. Ancestor Hung Jun was not a product of that time, not even Pangu could match him. Pangu created the world, so isn't he the powerful man who created the world in the prehistoric world? Xiao Qingyun couldn't help but be shocked when he thought about this. At this point she has probably guessed Xiao Xian's true identity, but how is that possible? How could such a thing exist in this world? Could he really be that existence? But he had to be reincarnated for some reason? It's a pity that there are no detailed records even from the Heavenly Court era, and even that guy Xiao Junlin can't get more. Thinking of this, she shook her head helplessly, and then smiled bitterly. The stronger one's own strength is, the stronger the desire to discover Xiao Xian is. It's like a bottomless black hole, and I want to keep exploring inside. But in the end, it was discovered that the thing inside could destroy the entire world. Even Emperor Pangu was beneath him, let alone someone like her? Fortunately, Xiao Xian has always been kind to her, and his spiritual consciousness will try his best to help her at certain moments. If you are against him. Thinking of this, Xiao Qingyun couldn't help but shudder. When he raised his head, he met Xiao Xian's indifferent eyes, and when he recalled his true identity. A flash of shock flashed in Xiao Qingyun's eyes, and then a feeling of pain swept over him instantly. At this moment, a look of painful shock appeared on her beautiful face. Just a guess, so painful. What on earth did he do back then? He couldn't even have an idea. It was at this time that her awe for Xiao Xian reached its peak. At the same time, it also made her more determined in her inner thoughts, since Xiao Xian could spare no effort to help her practice. Then she would never do anything that would chill her. No matter how strong you are, you will still stumble one day. Whether it is the way of heaven or the ancient road, since I, Xiao Qingyun, am Xiao Xian's descendant. and I received his cultivation grace, even if it costs me my life, I won't hesitate. Xiao Qian didn't know anything about Xiao Qingyun's thoughts. If he knew, he would definitely be shocked based on his understanding of Xiao Qingyun. The sudden change surprised Xiao Qian. It stands to reason that Xiao Qingyun, as the reincarnated empress, has the inheritance of Emperor Haoshan, so there will be no backlash at all. Why is this happening now? When he saw the flash of shock in Xiao Qingyun's eyes, Xiao Qian roughly knew something. Then he pointed a finger, and a chaotic power circled around Xiao Qingyun, turning into a dragon and wrapping her inside. A colorless and invisible Taoist destiny enveloped Xiao Qingyun's entire soul like an enlightenment. My descendants will die if they are injured. Hearing Xiao Qian's voice, Xiao Qingyun felt that his whole body and mind were relieved. Then a colorless and invisible luck blessed his body, and Xiao Qingyun suddenly felt a shock. She looked at Xiao Qian with shocked eyes. At this moment, she suddenly understood why Xiao Qian was reincarnated. At the same time, she was also completely impressed by Xiao Qian's courage. Just a breath made all the pain on her body disappear. This colorless and invisible ray of Taoist charm blessed me, although my realm has not improved. But the dragon power and fighting power in her body were soaring, if she hadn't suppressed it forcibly. I'm afraid that I've already reached the 7th level of the titled Emperor. But she has not accumulated enough mana to be in the realm of the titled Emperor, even if she breaks through to the quasi-immortal realm. She is just at the bottom. Even if she is the reincarnated Empress, she cannot make up for the gap. Thank you very much, Master, for saving your life. Qingyun is deeply grateful. I will definitely follow you to the death in the future. Hearing this, Xiao Qian glanced at her indifferently, and then said, just do what you can. Xiao Qingyun trembled when he heard this. He guessed that he had guessed his true identity. But why doesn't he care about his life experience? When Xiao Qingyun looked at Xiao Qian in astonishment, he suddenly understood everything. At this moment, everyone except Xiao Tianyuan, Xiao Jiangxin and other talented people did not understand what these words meant. But they knew that what Xiao Qingyun had just experienced was not as simple as they had seen. After doing all this, Xiao Qian went directly back to the Xiao family, and it was the same as before. The Xiao family and the dynasty are both independent entities. The dynasty belongs to the Xiao family, but the Xiao family does not belong to the dynasty. Firstly, it helps the children of the Xiao family to calm down and reduce the appearance of dandy children, and at the same time, it also allows them to understand what they are practicing. Secondly, give the main control to Xiao Qingyun, there is no room for two tigers in one mountain. Seeing everyone in the Xiao family gradually leaving under the leadership of Xiao Qian, Xiao Qingyun waved her jade hand. Directly lead millions of troops to conquer the battlefield and regain the countries surrounding the original Great Yan dynasty. But her exploration of Xiao Qian's life experience did not end there. Xiao Qian returned to Xiao's house and was about to continue practicing when the system prompt suddenly sounded. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the large-scale mission, dismantling the corrupt country, creating a new country, and expanding the territory of the Xiao family. Have an army of tens of millions. Get the reward of 10,000 years of mana. Immortal level army forging just requires one copy. A quasi-immortal elixir and a rare spiritual mineral. A seal of merit. Immortal level army forging is just needed, it can help users create the perfect army team, the formation you practiced can withstand a strike from a quasi-immortal. Quasi-immortal elixir, it can help the titled emperor's peak power to ignore the shackles of heaven and transcend to the quasi-immortal. Merit seal, gather the people's wishes and turn them into merit back to the host, which can help the host improve its cultivation level in a short time. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 308. The rewards this time are mainly aimed at the eliteness of the family's army. Even the merit seal has certain limitations. Just as Xiao Xian sighed, the system prompt sounded again. Ding. Because the host has obtained a large amount of people's willpower, the wish power reward was triggered, and 3 powerful quasi-immortals were obtained, which are now distributed. After hearing this, Xiao Xian's brows gradually relaxed. Nowadays, the territory of the Xiao family has expanded, but there are only a few high-level combatants. The 3 major forces are also preparing for their own affairs, and they will not do anything unless there is something major. At this stage, he should also enter seclusion and practice, so that he can deal with more situations after moving to Zushan continent. This also means that once there is a problem with the Xiao family, the high-level combat power will not be enough. Now with the appearance of these 3 quasi-immortals and the restrictions of the family formation, Xiao Xian can go into seclusion and practice with peace of mind. The Great Yan dynasty changed its dynasty, and on the surface everything seemed stable. But for them to be able to exist for such a long time, they must be more than just as surly as they appear on the surface. They were just waiting for an opportunity to completely overthrow the Xiao family's rule. Although Xiao Xian's strength at this moment has broken through to the level of quasi-immortal, and has accumulated for 200,000 years. But for a dynasty, it is not enough. If he wants to suppress all those forces that are ready to move, he must break through to the immortal realm. But with his current strength, it is not enough to break through. The suppression of the eye of heaven alone is enough for him to drink a pot. Thinking of this, Xiao Xian no longer hesitated to concentrate on practicing. At the same time, in an ancient Taoist temple in the monster forest, 3 powerful quasi-immortals gathered together. Looking closely, all 3 of them had a look of pain on their faces, and their eyes were bloodshot and seemed ready to explode at any moment. If anyone else saw this scene, they would be surprised. Half an hour later, the expressions of the 3 people gradually returned to calm. If it weren't for the large beads of sweat on their foreheads, the ordinary scene just now would have been suspicious. The fact that Xiao Xian single-handedly massacred 4 Quanzhen sect immortals, including Tianzun immortal, has spread throughout the world. His thunderous methods surprised everyone. But more than anything, I feel sad for his reckless bravery. As the largest cult organization, the Quanzhen sect was able to escape unscathed even when being hunted in the heavenly era. It can be seen that the opponent's strength is not ordinary. Now Xiao Xian has killed several immortals from the Quanzhen sect. Tianzun immortal is an important foreign negotiator, and the stakes are beyond the reach of ordinary people. The Quanzhen sect stabilized its foothold in the monster forest and gradually expanded outwards, with the Great Yan dynasty being its first base. Anyone who is favored by the Quanzhen sect, regardless of gender, will be tricked into becoming their cauldron for various reasons. Until the last bit of value is squeezed out, in this world that eats people without spitting out their bones. How many poor families have personally sent their children into the devil's cave in order to survive? If you have good looks or are born with a spiritual body, you can buy it at a good price. If you have both, you can achieve great success and get rid of a lifetime of poverty. In their eyes, cultivation is a very money-consuming thing. Instead of wasting it in vain, it is better for them to exchange for some money to survive. This approach of the Quanzhen sect has moved the hearts of countless people, and in a short period of time it has occupied an important position in the Great Yan dynasty. It has also become the fastest way for poor people to make money out of poverty. The Quanzhen sect originally dispatched Tianzun Immortal and Sky Immortal, and their troops were divided into 2 groups to go to the All Heavens continent and All Heavens and worlds respectively. When Bai Wuqiu heard this, he shook his head helplessly. Who would offend an immortal for us? So he turned around to help the 3 Sky Immortals, but happened to run into Xiao Xian's gun. Every day, a trace of blood essence with the power of the quasi-immortal soul is taken out from their bodies. Use Guchong Dan to control it, and it will attack at 3/4 of noon every day, when the toxicity occurs. Mo Wuodeo was full of anger but had nowhere to vent it. This Guchongdan was so powerful that even they were helpless. Only by reciting the Quanzhen Sect's incantations can he be relieved. However, he underestimated the temperament of these three people. This requires strong people like Quan Xian to develop here, but people within the Quanzhen sect are the first to be eliminated. How can the little great heavenly lord get close to me? If anyone can rescue me, they will go through fire and water. This leads to the scene at the beginning, but the ultimate price is the temporary loss of control over the body. The three of them are Shushan swordsman Bai Wujiao, Ime privet Lu Ruhua, and Mobei gunman Mo Wuodeo. In addition, the Quanzhen sect style has already been recorded in history, so it is conceivable that Tianzun Immortal's trip ended in failure. Therefore, Tianzun Immortal saw three quasi-immortals who were extremely talented and in the ascending stage. Because of this, Tianzun Immortal left the little doorman beside him here. But he ended up being bullied by the god of war, and he didn't even have the ability to fight back. Although the three of them were still able to fight after recovering, Tianzun Immortal's goo insect pill had an advantage. He even took advantage of one of them to attack him after the poison attack, if not for the warning from the immortal Tianzun. Bai Wuqiu smiled bitterly. If it weren't for this goo insect pill, how could the picturesque girl be insulted like this? No matter how bad he is still a strong man with the realm of ancient saints, and he will not be blinded by such benefits at all. But when Tianzun Immortal left, he also found a few informants for himself to develop the Quanzhen sect's techniques. Based on everyone's understanding of the Quanzhen sect in Zushan continent, unless there is a quasi-immortal taking the lead, it will be difficult to break into the inside. Immortal, one of the transcendent beings alive today, even if he is at the pinnacle of quasi-immortal, he cannot avoid it. At this time, the three of them burst out with a strong momentum, and an endless killing intent swept across the sky. I would rather bear the heart-piercing pain every day than chant the Quanzhen sect mantra. At this moment, the three of them were sitting together with melancholy faces, three dignified quasi-immortals. It's like thousands of insects eating the body, and hundreds of ghosts' remnant souls, making people unable to survive or die. But the little doorman, who was only in the realm of the god of war, saw that he could do whatever he wanted to the three quasi-immortals. But the people in Zushan continent are not as easy to fool as Zushan Wanja. Almost all of them are descendants of quasi-immortal families. Mo Wuodeo, the gunman from Mobei, was furious. The little Taoist boy dares to lay hands on Jurchen, I can't wait to kill him. When he had evil thoughts in his heart, he relied on the backlash effect of Guchongdan to hit or scold him, or even hit him with a stick. Even if the three of them do not want to submit to the Quanzhen sect, they still want to contribute to the Taoist priests of the Quanzhen sect. What's worse, all five poisons are on the rise. One by one, he becomes more and more bold. The consequences could be disastrous. A trace of shame and anger appeared on Lu Ruhua's delicate face, if it weren't for the restraint of Guchongdan. Anyone who is hosted by a host who attacks a disciple of the Quanzhen sect will suffer backlash. Are we just going to endure it like this? Mo Wuodeo clenched his fists with a look of resentment. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 309. It is not wrong to say that there is no way, as long as they can transcend and become an immortal. Then this little bug pill will naturally die, but they want to transcend. We still need to wait tens of millions of years, and even need a chance. Otherwise, there is only a dead end. What's more, detachment is not an easy thing without enough mana accumulation as a basis. It is simply impossible to transcend success. Just when everyone was frowning, Lu Ruhua suddenly started. Brothers, have you found any problems? As soon as these words came out, the two of them were confused, and then suddenly realized. The goo insect pill is dead. Mo Wudeo activated his skills and found that the aura of the goo insect hovering in his heart had disappeared. How could this be so? Mo Wudeo was surprised. Is there anyone more powerful than Immortal Tianzun in the world today? Bai Wujiao took a long breath and looked at the two of them calmly. There have been rumors in the world for a long time. Xiao Xian, the head of the Xiao family, has unparalleled courage and boundless magical power. There is also a mysterious and powerful person who sits in the Xiao family. This time Xiao Xian won a great victory in the battle with the great Yan dynasty. Presumably it was the powerful man who took action. As soon as these words came out, the two of them suddenly realized. The only people in the world today who can fight against immortals are true immortals. Then there is such a strong person in the Xiao family. At this moment, the closed door was suddenly kicked open. Standing at the door was a 5-foot-tall Taoist with a raised eyebrow, a nose as big as an ox, and a cleft mouth like a river. The look at him was disgusting, and his arrogant attitude made people even more intent on murdering him. "What's your name? Why don't you greet your Taoist immediately when I see him coming? Believe it or not, I want you to live a life worse than death." He looks like a man, but has a female voice. Hearing his voice, the three of them looked at the door in unison, with strange expressions on their faces, which made the Taoist boy frightened. But thinking that they were being restrained by the Guchong Dan, they forgot about it. Then he walked straight towards Lu Ruhua and looked at her delicate face with a cryptic expression. Lu Ruhua has dark eyebrows, peach blossom eyes, and a cherry mouth on her face. Coupled with her fair skin and orchid-like temperament, she is stunning at first glance. After cultivating into a quasi-fairy queen, she has an ethereal aura, just like a fairy who has fallen into the mortal world. At this moment, her eyebrows were filled with anger, adding a touch of strange beauty. The Taoist boy was completely immersed in beauty, thus ignoring the murderous intention that was about to burst out. "I have read countless people, but I have never tasted the taste of a quasi-immortal. If it weren't for your good looks, I would. Master Tao, I won't feel any sympathy for you either. I was originally worried that the immortal Tianzun would blame me. Now that I think about it, wouldn't it be possible for me to just make up a lie?" After saying this, Tao Tong smiled obscenely, and then he was about to attack Lu Ruhua. Presumptuous, Lu Ruhua sneered, and at a glance, the Taoist boy's body was knocked away by gravity. It hit the door behind him heavily, and flew over more than 10 feet away. With the strength of Lu Ruhua, a quasi-immortal, there is definitely more than this magic power, but there is nowhere to vent the insults the three of them have suffered these days. If I cannot repay him one by one for all the suffering I have endured today, I will never be able to vent my hatred. You. How dare you attack me? This is too much. The Taoist boy had not noticed the changes in Lu Ruhua and the others until now, and even recited the incantation to catalyze the goo insect pill. When he saw the expressions of the three people changing, and even looking at him with resentment, the Taoist boy's expression changed drastically. As soon as he said this, before Lu Ruhua could speak, Bai Wujiao's cold voice came over. But the appearance of Lu Ruhua and the others brought all the Quanzhen sect hidden in the dark to the surface. Among them was the Mahist family, whose head used the Quanzhen religion to make profits. "I will definitely pay you back twice as much. Now that the Xiao family is employing people, I should fulfill my promise. No matter what, he indirectly saved us. This kindness cannot be forgotten." Under the thunderous methods of the three people, all the Quanzhen sect hidden in Zushan continent was uprooted. Quite a few branch lines have been developed in Zushan continent, and some have even established gymnasiums. "Two eldest brothers, let's say goodbye. I didn't expect that the head of the Xiao family would be so courageous," Lu Ruhua said with admiration. Behind Lu Ruhua and Bai Wujiao stood Shushan and Yimei respectively. Their backgrounds were incomparable to that of the quasi-immortal who had become a monk. Luruhua thought for a while, and then said, "Brother Bai, second brother Mo, I once said that if someone can save me from the fire and water." He also obtained the method of cultivation and used the name of Quan Zhen sect to trick the girl into becoming a cauldron to help him practice. Thinking of this, he didn't hesitate at all. He rolled and knelt on the ground and begged for mercy, "Spare my life, spare my life. I am also helpless." Now the appearance of Luruhua and 3 others has made all his achievements fall short, but he dares to be angry but dare not speak out. Not only that, they also killed all the communicators and exposed their bodies for 3 days to show the world. At the same time, a major event also happened in Zushan continent. Even the Taoist temple was shattered, which naturally attracted the attention of the quasi-immortal families in Zushan continent. If it weren't for the persecution of Tianzun Taoist, I would also be a Taoist priest with a good heart. What you said is that you blame the flowers for blooming at the wrong time. Having said that, his move has already offended the Quan Zhen section. If there is a strong person behind him, it can be ignored. The Guchong pill is connected with Tianzun immortal. Now that the Guchong pill is invalid, Tianzun immortal. All he could do was break his teeth and swallow it. If the 3 of them find out, I'm afraid he won't even be able to save his life. Even the immortal Tianzun died in his hands. His strength and fighting power are unmatched by anyone. At first, everyone was still confused, but they suddenly realized after learning that Tianzun immortal had been killed by Xiaoxian in all the worlds. Some of the informants originally left by Tianzun immortal in Zushan continent were driven by them for a long time. The Taoist boy who fell into the hands of Luruhua and the others was already being tortured beyond human dignity. However, Luruhua and the others had already known what he was doing, and with just one look, he could no longer move. At this moment, his face was full of fear and timidity, and his horrified eyes penetrated the bottom of his heart. At this moment, the Taoist boy was trembling all over. Without the control of Guchong Dan, he had only one way to die. At this moment, the 3 of them stood side by side at the critical point between the All Heavens continent and all heavens and all realms. Rather than being tortured to death by them, it is better to take poison and hang yourself. Mo Wudeo sneered, "Ant? Trash. Haha, I'll let you have a taste today, how powerful the 3 of us brothers and sisters are. Besides, if Miss Luruhua hadn't been so beautiful, how could I have done anything to you? You have only yourself to blame." The corpse hung on the city wall for half a month. This scene made many cultivators look at it with admiration. Even Mo Wudeo, the swordsman from Mobei, is a quasi-immortal with 50,000 years of magic power, and he cannot defeat him. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 310. When the 2 heard Luruhua's words, they immediately raised their heads and left. Bai Wujiao was the first to speak. "Sister Ruhua, you and I have been together for thousands of years, but you still don't know what Xiao and I think." Luruhua was shocked, what these 2 brothers said. Mo Wudeo smiled, then looked at her, "How can you leave us 2 behind when you go to repay your kindness? No matter what, at least he saved the lives of my 2 brothers. This kind of kindness cannot be forgotten." Luruhua smiled when he saw this, and then the 3 of them looked at each other. Soaring into the sky, heading towards the top of the sky, towards the Xiao family. After the 3 people left, there was some movement in the Mo family, but they did not dare to search openly. At the same time, there were bursts of strange noises coming from the mountains behind the Xiao family. A terrifying momentum instantly rose into the sky, turning into countless streams of light that exploded into the sky. This scene attracted the attention of countless people, and Xiao Xian's shadow continued to appear in the sky. A terrifying aura of chaos enveloped the entire world, making countless people frightened. After 3 years of practice, he has now accumulated a full 300,000 years of mana. Exhaling involuntarily, Xiao Xian showed a satisfied smile. Coupled with the last time he temporarily broke through the immortal skills comprehended by the immortal, at this moment, he has the ability to fight even if a true immortal comes here. After entering the quasi-immortal realm, Xiao Xian's dragon blood battle body was completely developed. In the past 3 years, the Xiao family has also entered another state, with the number of middle-level personnel increasing continuously. The Xiao family's overall combat effectiveness has increased to a terrifying state. Even in the Zushan continent, there are few aristocratic families that can compete with it. It took only tens of millions of years for the Xiao family to enter the world, and the Xiao family had transformed from a small family that needed to be careful when traveling. It has developed into the existence that scares countless people, which can be called a miracle in all the worlds. Xiao Xian took a breath involuntarily. The stronger he is now, the clearer he will be about things in the prehistoric world. Perhaps, after transcending, he could vaguely touch on what happened at that time. As soon as he came out of Wenjian Valley, Xiao Jianfeng submitted all the affairs during this period to Xiao Xian for review. But he didn't check it immediately. Second, he raised his head and looked at the sky. At this moment, 3 terrifying auras were coming towards the Xiao family. Xiao Xian raised his eyebrows and knew what was going on. The rewards from the system have been distributed, so without too much nonsense, we went directly to the sky. Lu Ruhua and the others were about to arrive at the Xiao family's residence, but they found a figure in white appearing on the peninsula. This man has picturesque features and an unparalleled temperament, and an aura of calmness and dignity circulates around him. But they couldn't see any aura of cultivation. The 3 of them looked at each other with a little fear in their eyes. I don't know where this person came from. He suddenly fell from the sky. I didn't know whether he was an enemy or a friend for a while. Finally, Bai Wukuo took a step forward and saluted with his hands clasped in fists. Senior, may I ask if you are Xiao Xian, the head of the Xiao family? Bai Wugu's words were neither humble nor arrogant, and his words were extremely polite. Seeing this, Xiao Xian looked at him indifferently. Xiao Xian, why are you 3 visiting my Xiao family? Xiao Xian naturally knew the origins of the 3 people, but he would not speak directly. The 3 of them looked at each other and smiled, feeling secretly relieved. Finally, Bai Wujiao told the purpose of their trip and said that he wanted to join the Xiao family. Xiao Xian was slightly surprised when he heard this, except for Mo Wudao, who was a wild cultivator, Bai Wujiao and Lu Ruhua. They are all people with backgrounds. Are you really willing to give up your background to join the Xiao family and serve the Xiao family? Xiao Xian then directly used the Eye of Insight to check the detailed information of the 3 people. Lu Ruhua, Emishan Ligastrum, quasi-immortal realm, accumulated 30,000 years of mana. Because of his outstanding spiritual qualifications, he was targeted by the elders of the sect and took away his favorite disciple. As a result, he was unable to practice cultivation. Although he relied on later repairs to break through to quasi-immortal, he could only remain a quasi-immortal for the rest of his life. She was imprisoned by the immortal Tianzun, and whoever rescued her will follow her to the death. Bai Wujiao, a direct disciple of Shushan, he was expelled from Shushan and his cultivation was abolished because of the love between master and apprentice. His master spent all his cultivation to regroup him, but died as a result. He was also known as Bai Wujiao's inner demon. If the inner demons are not eliminated, this life will stop here. Mo Wudao, a quasi-immortal who has accumulated mana for 50,000 years after being imprisoned by the immortal Tianzun. With nowhere to vent his anger, after being indirectly rescued by the host, he decided to follow him to the death to eliminate demons and defend the way. After seeing the details of the 3 people, Xiao Xian was also shocked. But if you think about it carefully, it makes sense. The bigger the sect, the more twists and turns it has. The common man is not guilty, but he is guilty of carrying the jade. Equals plus Q, G hashtag. In the final analysis, the experiences of Bai Wujiao and Lu Ruihua were just because their talents affected the interests of certain people. Even if nothing had happened, there would be other reasons to execute them. In this life, no matter what choice you make or what height you reach, there will always be people who will judge you. Therefore, he has already seen through the world of mortals. If he is really concerned, it is the entanglement in the wilderness. After reading the attributes of the three people, Xiao Xian thought about it briefly and spent some exchange points to convert the spiritual roots into spiritual bodies. Then he turned it into a pill and gave it to Lu Ruihua. This elixir can help you cleanse your body of impurities and regenerate your spiritual roots. Lu Ruihua was flattered, but years of practice had already made her lose trust in people's hearts. Although she wanted to follow Xiao Xian, she did not want to suffer the pain of imprisonment again, so she did not dare to accept Xiao Xian's gift easily. Xiao Xian naturally knew her concerns and looked at her indifferently. I have never taken back what I have done. I will not do any despicable means. If you are really worried, just throw it away. Lu Ruihua then looked at Bai Wujiao and Mo Wujiao. Seeing their firm eyes, he accepted it without hesitation. Thank you, Master, for the gift. Xiao Xian said nothing when he saw this, and then took out 2 more pills. These 2 pills can help you break through the shackles. No longer suffering from restrictions, if the talent is sufficient, a spirit body can be born. As soon as these words came out, Bai Wugu and the other 2 hesitated for a moment, and then accepted them. This elixir appeared. They naturally know what it means to them. Although it was unclear how the pills given by Xiao Xian were refined, the moment he saw the problem with them at a glance was enough to prove everything. Thank you so much for the gift, Master. I will definitely follow you to the death in the future. Thank you for the gift, Master. Mo Wujiao will listen to your orders in this life. Xiao Xian nodded. It's just a small gift. Since you are willing to surrender to my Xiao family. As long as the head of this family sits in the Xiao family for a day, your hearts will not be cold. After hearing Xiao Xian's words, the 3 of them completely returned to their hearts. Xiao Xian smiled slightly when he saw this, and then led the 3 of them to Xiao's house. As soon as he landed, he received a secret message from Xiao Qingyun.